No questions?
Craig, what did you learn most about Levi Williams last year?
Oh, I think maybe some of the things that he did in the bowl game, we might have glossed over a little bit when we really got pressed on some protection issues or accuracy that became apparent, decisions. And I think he learned a lot, and he's continuing to learn.
Yeah, Craig, he mentioned that he lost a little bit of confidence during the season. Did you notice that with him, and how do you kind of work with that with a quarterback?
Well, yeah, I think that there was certain, it was hard. We were all dealing with a unsettled situation. There were some progressions, some reads that were, I think, not super complicated, but it was obvious he wasn't processing those things. And I think certainly confidence had to come into play. If there was a throw that was there and he chose not to make it, that was there. It wasn't something he was going to walk a razor's edge. But he's had a good spring, and so we're excited about him.
How much do you think that injuries that we're just finding out now? I mean, did you know about them all along, or were they things that he started to come to you about later on in the season?
You talking about his shoulder, Tracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he I think he was, he's a competitor. During the course of stuff, he didn't want to be complaining. Well, I've got this hurt, and some guys, I mean, they get a loose hangnail and they don't feel like they can practice. I mean, he was trying to gut it out, but that was helpful, at least to know. And there was a lot of days on Tuesday he was having a hard time even moving his arm, and there was some popping and cracking going on in there. Now, there was nothing that, the medical staff wasn't going to clear him with. There was just some pain and inflammation that he was working through, but he did a good job with that, and we appreciate his competitiveness.
Greg, other than the guys that have not participated this spring because of injuries, is there going to be anybody that's be held out Saturday because of injuries?
Nobody that I'm aware of right now. We've been tracking where everybody's at academically. There's a couple guys that I wish that were doing better, but there's nothing that is going to hold them out of the game. We've had no discipline issues that's going to, allow me to bench a guy. So we'll look at our rosters. Tim has the rosters, and we're in hopes that we're going to be able to play everybody some. I've told all our assistant coaches that, every member that's on the squad. You've got a lot of local guys who have families that are within driving distance, and for them to have a chance to watch their family member play for the Cowboys during spring is important. So we're going to sprinkle in some guys. Certainly we want to have a competitive game, but I think it's important that everybody get a playing experience. And your question, I gave you a long answer, is there's nobody going to be held out.
Great. This is a little bit off topic, but I know you sit on a lot of committees, and the NCAA is talking about limiting fall camp in terms of contact practices. I was just curious what your thoughts were on that whole
Well, that's
situation.
one of the committees that I sit on. You start out with these things. You got a lot of coaching buddies out there, and then you sit on this committee 1 year and you lose half your buddies because they're mad at you, and you sit on it 2 years and you lose all your buddies. So I don't have a lot of friends. Everybody that sits on that group, Michael, has good intentions. I mean, there's people from the medical community. There's some ADs, there's coaches, NCAA people, and we were given a charge with saying that the data had indicated that the amount of repetitive head contact was most prevalent during fall camp, and so we were charged with trying to decrease some of those. It wasn't so much a study on concussions; it was the constant pounding. And so we started out, and boy, it was like, both ends of the spectrum. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the Democrats and the Republican in Congress, but I mean, it was a long ways away. But by God, I think we've done a hell of a lot better than those people have. And so we came to a consensus that probably ain't nobody happy. I'm not happy about it. I mean, I think we're playing football. We need to make sure we prepare our guys. But I wasn't, I had my head in the sand that, okay, what things don't you really need to do? The old pound your chest, bowl on the ring, that's not teaching football. It's teaching toughness, and if we don't have toughness by now, we probably miss recruited. So I think we're in a good spot. They're going to probably fine tune it. I don't know if it came out today. The FOC was meeting on it today, but good men that were on the committee, and it was a privilege to serve. But there was some grinding on it. I can tell you that.
Hey,
And I don't have very many friends right now.
Craig, you've mentioned on multiple occasions this spring about working on punt blocks and having a punt blocked in a scrimmage.
Yep.
When you went back and assessed things this offseason, was more impact plays on special teams? Was that something you thought you guys needed to improve?
No, I think every year you look at the type of team and the structure that you have. You look at what type of return guy you're going to have. You look at what type of guys are up front. We had been probably not as aggressive as what I thought we needed to be. And you know what? It's always, you hold your breath when you're going to try to block a punt, because you think, well, if we rough them, then that's almost, it's almost invariably it happens. The team goes down and scores. And to do that, though, Davis, you have to work on it. So we worked on it quite a bit. I think we've got mixed results. There's some guys that can come in and they're scot-free and they turn their head like that, and they short arm it. They got alligator arms, and that ain't going to change. That's in their DNA. And then you have some other guys that really have an ability to get off slink and put their hand on the ball. And we have a couple of those guys, not as many as what I'd like, but I do think we need to be more aggressive and go after some more punt blocks this year.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the progression of Gavin Meyer? He really kind of got thrown in the fire last year and did a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, you know what? We're well pleased with him. He's put on some lean muscle mass, and that's helped this spring. We felt like he was a good player out of high school. We felt like he was going to be a developmental guy, which he was, and he's developed. He's certainly not the finished product right now, but he's gotten better, and he's proven that we can put him in and get some bona fide playing time.
Hey, Craig, another hot button topic off the field has been the name, image, likeness legislation that some states have already adopted. Wyoming has not adopted that. But just in terms of recruiting, do you worry about that being a disadvantage, and would you like to see Wyoming adopt NIL legislation?
I'm gonna stay neutral as far as that whole topic, as far as whether I would want Wyoming to vote on it or not. That's up to our state leaders. I do get concerned that whenever you make a movement like this, you really start to look and say, okay, what is amateur athletics? What are we really trying to accomplish? And I know the storyline. Look how many millions of dollars everybody's making, and you have head coaches that are making $7 million and they leave and they transfer someplace else, and yet the players are there and players aren't getting anything. I do think this. We made an adjustment several years ago with the cost of attendance scholarship. We recognized that, some of these student athletes, could, because the scholarship hadn't changed in, I think, like 15, 20 years. And so we made a marked decision to increase the cost of attendance scholarship. And that, there was a lot more money there than what people realize. The complicating factor is okay, just because your starting running back may be a celebrity, is he really that more valued than the offensive lineman that's blocking for him, because he isn't getting that the NIL money? And then I'm uncomfortable with it. The horse was out of the barn. I mentioned to a lot of people, you combine that with the one-time transfer. I said I was in the Southwest Conference. Tracy's probably the only guy on this call that knows who the hell the Southwest Conference was. But I told them all, I said, it's like a bad movie. It's Groundhog Day. I said, you're going down a path, and we got all these things, but the words I just got were, you know what, we're going to do it, coach, and just kind of let the dust settle where they fall. And so what Wyoming does, I don't know. We're trying to Hell, Davis, we're just trying to get a first down right now. Can you give me a break?
You guys got any more
He
questions?
asks hard questions, you know.
Hey, it's coming whether you're like it or
I know
not.
I'm jerking your chain. I'm very well. Believe me, I know it's coming, Davis.
Hey, Craig, where's the competition between Easton and Chuck Hicks going into the spring game?
Pretty tight. I think Chuck's got a little bit of an advantage on him, but Easton has closed the gap, and those two guys will see significant playing time. And so whoever's declared the starter is really going to be, I don't want to say a moot point, because those guys are going to play a lot. And the competition has been good for both of them. They both have strengths and weaknesses. And Chuck may have a little bit more experience, but Easton does some really good things.
Craig, Jay said a couple of weeks ago that Rome Weber's, it's hard to take 15 months off and come back and be where you were. I don't think we've heard about Solomon Byrd at all this spring. How is he looking, and is he back to his normal self?
He's playing okay. You'll see a depth chart that comes out. Unless something changes, he's probably not going to be at the top of the depth chart. And we evaluate every single thing. And so football is a developmental sport, and how you move and your weightlifting and your conditioning all come into play.
Craig, is there an amount of, I don't want to say frustration, but is it sometimes frustrating to have these guys who did opt out maybe not hit the ground running like you would have wanted to?
I wouldn't say frustration. I had some concerns about that. But what we chose to do, Michael, was, and I thought our football team really did a great job. We came and we meshed. Maybe the first week or two, some of the guys were in the weight room saying, okay, this guy wasn't here. But, we put all that in the past. And, guys made decisions for their personal reasons, which we respected. We did say it was going to be competitive this spring. And we were going to go out and evaluate and play the best guys that we feel like are the best guys. And so the cream's risen to the top. I think you'll get a depth chart sometime after spring football, and you guys can dissect it. Doesn't mean that anything is etched in stone, but as coaches, we make evaluations. I think we make more right evaluations than wrong evaluations, and you'll see that. No other questions.
Well, Coach, you've talked a lot about Devon Harris. Is he maybe one of those guys that's risen to the top of the depth chart?
Well, you're pretty astute there. That's why we're going to put out the depth chart. Keep you guys in suspense. Y'all are laughing a hell of a lot today. I just came off long practice, and Davis is asking me hard questions. Softballs, Davis, softballs. It's what we're looking for here,
How was practice? How was practice today, Coach?
It was average, quite frankly.
Yeah. You look frustrated when you walked in.
Yeah, it was a little average. Tracy, did you have a question there, my friend?
Well, I just wonder, I asked a couple of players, but for yourself, to see so many guys come back when you see other schools losing guys out, what does that make you feel about the job you guys must be doing with these kids that they want to stay instead of get out of here?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. And every year's different. And so I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I do think we have a culture here of the guys that we recruited, Tracy. We were very transparent with them and very authentic when we recruited them. When we sat in their home, we said, there's not going to be anything given to you. You're going to be given an opportunity to get a great degree from a national land-grant research institution. You're going to be given the resources to be at your very best. We're going to be consistent with you and treat you fairly. And I feel like our players recognize that we have a good program. While it's not been easy and not every day is a Chamber of Commerce day, but they are getting better. Our facilities are top notch. Top notch. The nutrition they get is excellent. The strength and development is excellent. And that's one of the reasons why I think you've seen so many guys rise up this last year in the NFL. And so they feel like they can accomplish all their goals. And so sometimes the further away the better it looks, and it's a lie. And we feel like our guys are bought in right now to be Wyoming Cowboys. And we hope that stays that way. But I do think honesty and being very consistent, and I think they see that they can accomplish everything they want to accomplish. We play in a great league. We have super fans. We've got great facilities. We got phenomenal weather here. Not really. But they get what maybe some of them are going to leave because of the snow, but I always worry. I mean, hell, if a guy's going to leave because he's worried about the snow, he's not going to be a very good football player. But I think we give them what we told them we were given, and that's why they're bought in, Tracy.
Well, what about having two quarterbacks that seem to be as talented as the guys you have, and they seem to be fairly much supportive of each other? I mean, couldn't that be a difficult situation in some places?
I think a lot of it comes down to the character of the guys that are in that room. If you have ego-driven guys that think the world revolves around them and that they're the best thing since post-Toasties and they don't want to take coaching, and if they're not the starter, they're going to take their ball and go home. That's what you're seeing in college football. And I think you're probably seeing it more in basketball than you are in football. But those things make me want to throw up. I mean, that goes against everything that you're trying to teach in college football. To be a team player, to overcome adversity, when your number's called, be prepared, ready to go and support your team. And I don't want to sound like I'm on a soapbox, but I just think we're in an instant gratification society. And, here's a case in point, that quarterback position. You got these guys that play quarterback, and they have family members that have shopped them all around, they've taken them to every guru, and they've done all these 7-on-7 leagues, and they've got all these star ratings. And if they can't start, they're going to go someplace else. And we got two guys here that, they're grinders. They were multi-sport guys. Their families are behind them, and they're bought in for the Wyoming Cowboys. And that's why I love coaching here, Tracy.
We like having you here.
Thanks for saying that. Davis is rubbing his eyes saying I call BS on that, but I'm picking on you today, Davis.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I do. Craig, what do you want to see out of the scrimmage that would make you feel good about where you guys are going into the summer?
I'm going to correct you here because it's going to be a game. I know you said scrimmage, but I want to see, and the reason why I'm saying that is for players to go out there and be in an environment that's a game-like situation, where there's fans in the stands, officials, they're calling it just like a regular game. We have execution with play clock, and see a clean football game. And then to see our guys go out and enjoy playing. They've worked hard this spring, and you play the game because it's not work, you play. And so to have our players and be enthusiastic and then competent play. There's always a star in the spring game. It's always somebody sometimes that nobody may know about. And a lot of times that star in the spring game is the same guy that starts the star in the fall. And so usually somebody's going to rise from there. I have the best seat in the house. I'm going to usually set up in the press box, and the coaches each have their one trick play that they can call. And so there's some gamemanship here, and it's going to be a game, and that's what I'm looking for.